Hello and welcome back to the Product Biz Podcast. We've had a little bit of a three-part mini series about the hidden secrets to success. And the first episode, if you go 2 episodes back, was about the difference between focusing on the external versus internal and which one actually leads to results. And the one question that you can ask yourself in order to embody the right intention, the right belief behind what you're doing for your business. And then the second hidden secret to success was our last episode, which was how to uncover where you are doubting your own success and doubting your own business through these little mini micro judgments that we may have of others that may not even feel like judgments, but if you just follow your thoughts to see what super minute judgments or critical thoughts are coming up, you will see a mirror to where you are doubting your own success and doubting your own business. And now we are on part 3, the last part for now on the hidden secrets to success. And today we're going to talk about healing the past in order to fully trust every single day that's in front of you, every single challenge that is in front of you, and every single roadblock that is in front of you today. Now, why this is so important? It really comes down to the fact that challenges, roadblocks, bad days, things not going your way are inevitable in business. Just because you decided to be a business owner doesn't mean that everything is going to be rainbows and butterflies. I would actually say that when someone chooses the path of an entrepreneur or a business owner, you are actually choosing the path of more challenges, more roadblocks, more items, skills, tactical behaviors, strategies, personal growth that is on your plate. And that's what you signed up for, because trust me, it's much easier to have a corporate job and to show up every day and to do what someone tells you to do and continue on that way. But running a business on the other side is going to challenge you to the biggest degree. And what we want to do in this episode is really talk about healing the past so that when these inevitable challenges come up with your business, it doesn't unsettle you, it doesn't rock you, it doesn't demotivate you, it doesn't discourage you, it doesn't cause you to throw everything up in the air and contemplate throwing in the towel. And instead, there's a word that I love, which is equanimity. You can handle all challenges that come your way with peace of mind. Doesn't mean we want to attract more challenges, but it just means when there is a challenge that we are facing, it's like, okay, great. Let me work past this. Let me see what I can learn. Let me see how I can grow. And how we start to have this more, I don't know, I'm totally going to butcher, equanimous point of view on our current challenges is to heal our past. What I mean by this is if you can look to your past and see that every single thing that happened for a reason. Or if you can look towards your past and find gratitude in every single part of your past, every single part of your history, no matter if it was good or bad or debilitating or utterly humiliating or whatever that may have happened to you in the past, if you can find gratitude in that and find the gold in that, you are going to start to shift your perspective. That when challenges, quote unquote, bad things, hard times happen to you now, you will understand that it's all part of the plan. It's all part of the journey. It's all part of why you are here on this planet during this time, to face this challenge, to face this struggle. So let me give you an example. And I've shared this story maybe way in some of the earlier episodes, but I'll share it with you again. So when I was growing up, take you back to my younger years, my parents didn't have a lot of money. They immigrated to the U.S. when they were like 25, 26, didn't know any of the English language when they came to the U.S. My dad actually came first to start working for a couple years before my mom came. And they didn't know any of the language, but came to the U.S. from Europe because they wanted to have more opportunities for themselves, for their kids, a different path, rewrite what's coming up in the future for themselves and their children. So when me, my brother, my sister were young and my parents were trying to learn the language and just kind of struggling. It is what it is. My parents didn't have the best jobs. My dad worked the night shift, a minimum wage job, working at a car manufacturing facility because we lived outside of Detroit, which the car industry is big in Detroit. So he literally worked like minimum wage his whole entire life. I think when he just retired, it's so interesting, and I've said this on the podcast before, but my dad retired at age, I don't know, 66, 67. And a few years before he retired, he was commenting about how people at Costco make $19 per hour, and he couldn't believe it. He's like, how are they making $19 per hour? How is that even possible? What are they even doing to make that much money? And I don't know exactly how much my dad makes or made, and it's never a question that I wanted to know the answer to, but the fact that he was saying how Costco makes $19 per hour showed to me that my dad wasn't even making that much money. My dad, who worked for over 40 years, was never making more than that. And he worked manual labor. He worked at a car manufacturing facility. He worked the night shift. It was very manual. And my mom also, when I was younger, she would clean houses. Like, that's what she did to make money. And it's interesting when I look back because my childhood was pretty tough. Parents didn't know the language, parents didn't have a lot of money, and there were 3 kids. So you can imagine what kind of dynamic that is. And I remember growing up in middle school, and 2 things happened. Number 1, getting made fun of a lot because of my parents and their accent, and they didn't know the language. That was something that happened very, very often. And number 2, just not having a lot of money for like clothes, not having money for new gym shoes if I was on the basketball team, not having money for new clothes at the start of the school year, not having a lot of money in order to be able to buy new backpacks, new journals, new pencils, new pens, all of those things. That it was so interesting. My friends would be so excited for like back to school shopping and getting all this stuff, and I literally would be wearing the same stuff that I had been wearing as long as I didn't grow out of it, as long as there wasn't a hole in it, as long as the shoes still worked. And as I started to become a teenager, I remember having so much like just resentment, a lot of resentment of like, why are we poor? Why can't I have nice things? Why won't my parents spend money on me? Why won't my mom buy me this? And it was a resentment that I carried with me through college, a resentment that I carried with me through my young adult years. I just always had this resentment of like, my childhood was freaking tough. And I wish I could have changed it. I wish I could have had a better childhood. I wish my parents had more money. I wish we had more fun when I was a kid. I wish we did more things. I wish we had more experiences. I wish my mom wasn't always complaining about the cost of groceries and the cost of cereal. And I wish that we actually got to live more life as I was a kid. It's so funny because when I was younger, probably up until I left for college, we probably went out to dinner maybe like 3 times in my life. And it was when family friends were in town and they were people who would like go to Outback Steakhouse. And I remember the couple of times that we went, and it was just mind-boggling because we never did that. My mom made dinner every single day because obviously it's more economical to cook yourself than to go out to eat every single day, or even once a week, or even once a month. So it was just a very interesting dynamic, and this was part of my past that I really had to heal. And why I'm sharing this story with you is because I had a lot of bitterness, anger, and resentment towards my childhood, and even probably some towards my parents. Maybe more of just like the situation and why was I in this situation. And when I started to go on this major healing journey of just analyzing my thoughts, questioning my thoughts, wondering, why am I having this thought? Why am I having this judgment? Why am I having this feeling about my past? Because these thoughts would trickle up every once in a while. When I started to go down this healing journey and question my thoughts, I started to actually heal this past part of me. And this is what I want you to do. I want you to find an experience or a part of life or a challenging obstacle or something that you are ashamed of or have grief about or are still angry about or wish was different or feel shame towards or just always wish, like, I just wish I never had to experience that, or I wish it was different. Maybe I'm okay with experiencing it, but I wish it had happened differently or not as bad or not as deep as what I had to go through. And I want you to find, as many experiences that ring a bell with those emotions as possible. And then what I want you to do is find the gratitude and find the gold within living through those experiences and having those challenges. So let me talk you through this from my example. When I went through this for my childhood, I found so much gratitude because I started to realize if my parents didn't come to the US with no money and didn't struggle with money, I would have never had the drive to have gotten a job at literally 15 years old and 8 months, the legal limit to get a job. My first job was at Subway. If my parents weren't dirt poor and we weren't poor growing up, I would have never busted my butt to get a job as soon as frickin' possible. And I wouldn't have busted my butt at that job. I would have never learned what hard work is. I would have never learned of what it means to want more and to strive for more. And at the same time, if my situation was different when I was younger, I probably wouldn't have tried as hard in school. Because for me, my escape was if I can get good grades, then I can go to a good college, then I can get a good job, and then I can change my experience. I can buy whatever I want to buy. I can go wherever I want to go. So what I did is I got a job at 15 years old and 8 months, as soon as legally possible. I busted my butt in school. So I got great grades. I went to a great college. All throughout college, I worked in order to pay off my college because my parents weren't paying for my university tuition, to pay for books, to pay for rent, to pay for food during college. And because I needed to pay for all of these things because my parents weren't paying for it, I really wanted some really good internships while I was going to school for business. So I actually got an internship after my sophomore year, which I don't know nowadays if that's common, but when it happened to me, there were like no sophomores that got internships. And it was so funny. I interned at Marathon Oil, so an oil and gas company. And when I was a junior, I had a friend who was a sophomore and was like, I tried to interview with them. I went up to them at the career fair and they just said, no, we don't even interview sophomores. He's like, how did you get through? How did you get that internship? How did you actually get them to look at your resume and talk to you? And that was that grit and determination and commitment. So from my childhood experience, I cultivated that. I was able to get an incredible internship. Then I had an internship at Boeing. Then I literally got a job before I even graduated college. I had one class that I wasn't able to finish to graduate a semester early. So I got a job before I graduated college, and I was still doing a college class while I was working full-time, getting paid a full-time salary. And then when I think of that, if I didn't have that grit, determination, and commitment, I would have never worked so hard, gotten great grades, gotten great internships. I would have never probably gotten that first full-time job, which means I would have maybe never even moved to Chicago. Like if my parents were but rich, I don't even know if that's a word, I would have maybe like just went to whatever school and not really tried hard and just like coasted and embraced life and never would have freaking went after it and wanted to embrace what this life has to offer. And if I never got that full-time job and I never lived in Chicago, well, who knows? I would have maybe never started my small business because there's so many small business owners in Chicago. That's part of the reason why I really got cultivated and had the idea to start my own business. And if I never started my own business, I would have never started the Chicago Makers Pop-Up Shop, which is a shop that I co-own with a business partner, where I got to make so many friends of other small business owners because we sold items from over 100 small business owners in our stores. And if that never happened, I would have never started Product Biz Academy because that was the catalyst to PBA, because I heard what so many small business owners were struggling with, which were things that I had struggled with but had overcome. And if I never would have started PBA, I would have never been helping all of these small business owners that I have the chance to help now. And if I see that domino of if one thing changed, if my parents won the freaking lottery their first day living in the US and all of that changed because they had money and I grew up differently and my life was different and my values were different and my experiences were different and my being was different, then I wouldn't be here today. Who knows what I would be doing? Maybe I'd still be living at home, just living off of mom and dad. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but I just wouldn't be fulfilling my passion and doing what I'm truly meant to do on this planet and being in this moment right now. So all of that anger and shame and resentment, and I wish my younger years were different, and I wish growing up was easier, and I wish I had more fun when I was a kid, and I wish we had more experiences, and I wish I wasn't made fun of. All of that goes away when I can look back and see, wow, not only did that experience completely shape me, and completely allow me to learn skills, soft skills, hard skills, to push myself, to create my own life, to change my destiny, to take matters into my own hands. Those are the soft skills that I learned from that experience. But if, number one, I would have never learned that. And number two, if I didn't reflect on the past, I would never see that everything happens for a reason. And when I go through this exercise to heal the past where there was some resentment, I can now see all of that. Every single step of the way was for a reason. Every single step, every single challenge, every single roadblock, and none of that was easy. Oh my gosh, none of that looking back was easy at all. I think back to high school, I was working like 25 hours a week while going to school, while on student council, while trying to make money, while thinking about college. When I was at college, my roommates were all partying and having fun, and I literally was waking up at 6 a.m. I was working multiple jobs throughout college. I was getting good grades. I was working internships. Like, it was so hard to do all of those things. But when I look back, I can now see that those hardships shaped me, and it was all for a reason. And if you can take every single experience in your life and go through that exercise and find peace in it and heal the past, here's what's going to happen. And this is why this matters. When you are faced with a hardship today, because you've healed the past, when you are faced with a hardship today, there's not going to be anger or resentment or throwing in the towel or giving up or any of those emotions. Instead, it's going to be, I can handle this. I handled everything else in the past. Of course I can handle this. And not only can I handle this, but I know this is happening for a reason. And I may not be able to see it now. It's really hard to connect the dots looking forward. But I know as soon as this experience passes, this hardship, this challenge, as soon as I am on the other side, I'm going to be able to connect the dots looking backwards. And all I have to do is persevere. All I have to learn is how to get to the other side of this challenge. All I have to learn is, what is this challenge teaching me? How is this challenge serving me? How is this challenge making me a better person, the version of me who I need to be in order to reach my goals? So let's take an example. If you can heal everything in the past, and then you come across having a hard month in your business, instead of spiraling, instead of doubting yourself, instead of questioning, is this even possible for me? It comes down to, what can I learn from this? What skill am I missing? Or what skill can I be better at? Or what skill can I learn from a different angle? Think about it this way. When people are training for a marathon, they don't just train miles and more miles and more miles and more miles. They train agility. They train sprints. They train increasing muscle by doing like weightlifting and things like that. They train through their diet. They train through their recovery. So that just shows that when someone is in a challenge or someone has a goal, There's multiple different skills and components and angles in order to reach that goal. And if you are struggling to train for a marathon and you just can't run more than 11 miles, and no matter what you do, every single day you try, you go out and run, that's your sign of how can you approach this from a different angle. Okay, I need to work on building my muscle, my leg muscles, because my legs just tire out. Let me do some squats. Let me do some deadlifts. Let me bring in some weightlifting to my routine, something like that. But the moral of the story is understanding that the challenge you are facing is there for a reason. And this brings so much trust. The biggest thing that I see among struggling small business owners is the lack of trust. It's the need to control. It's the need to know the answers now. It's the need to see the sales right now, because if I don't see it right now, it means I'm not worthy. But one of the biggest skills that I had to cultivate was trust. And when you can trust that everything in the past happened for a reason, you can trust what you are going through right now is happening for a reason, and you can trust that the future is going to hold exactly what it's meant to hold for you. And when you have that level of trust in the future, when you can trust that everything that has happened has built me to who I am, and everything that's going to happen is going to continue to do that because I know I'm making progress towards my goals, and I have so much trust and faith that everything happens for a reason and my future is there waiting for me, that is when you become unstoppable in business. 100% unstoppable. Nothing can shake your faith in yourself, in your future, in your business. And when you can operate from that point, magic happens, miracles happen, the unexpected happens, and that's when it gets really, really, really fun. So that's where I'm going to leave you with part 3 of the hidden secrets to success. Healing the past in order to fully trust each challenge, each roadblock that you are currently facing. And also to fully trust that whatever happens is what's meant to happen, and your future is there waiting for you to go through these challenges, for you to become the version of you needed to reach the goals that you have, because the goals that you have are 100% achievable. I will live and die on that hill that if you have the desire, it means that it is your destiny. It's just about uncovering these layers and more layers of conditioning and programming and healing these layers to become that version of you who is capable of seeing those results. So if you enjoyed this mini series, please let me know. I'm so open to feedback on the podcast because I'm out here recording for you. And I want to know what episodes really land for you so then I can give you more of that. So if this was helpful, please send me a DM on Instagram, Monica Little Coaching, or you can take a screenshot, tag me, share about this episode. That would mean so much, just so I know that this is totally landing for you. And I just appreciate you, and I'm so grateful that you are listening and taking the time to grow with me. And I can't wait to see you on the next episode of the Product Biz Podcast.